Hi, everybody. Welcome back to our channel and welcome back to the You Don't Understand podcast. So, for today's episode, we wanted to bridge off of where we left off last week. We discussed towards the end about the importance of wanting to build that relationship between parent and child, um, and how it's really important to have that want in the first place. So, for today's episode, we wanted to discuss um just the importance of like family in general, especially in this generation or and honestly like in this not even generation in this day and age. I've seen it from my perspective as well, that the essence of what it means to have a family and have that familial bond it has definitely like lost its meaning over the years. And we kind of wanted to discuss why and how we were able to like bring that back into our family and even into our relationship, especially because I mean, we had a pretty non-conventional way of, living and stuff. So I will hand it off to my mother.
Hello, everyone. So, yeah, that is a very important point because that's where we left last time. I mean, you can not have the desire, you can have your identity, you can have the thought that you are capable enough, to take care of yourself, handle life on your own, and figure it out on your own. But I guess it is very important to understand that. In some ways we are a social being, and we need people, we need that support system, we need that support system to nurture us in a complete whole sense rather than taking away the identity of the individual. So it's like a bigger tree that is shading a smaller tree till the point the tree is strong enough or the plant is strong enough to become a tree in its own. So till that point, um, so I guess, yeah, I mean, I would definitely like to talk about the parent side of it because, of course, I don't know how the children today are thinking, whether they value, they don't value, or why do they don't value a certain thing. But from the parents' perspective, and this is by and large, I'm not saying that there is certain pocket of parents or guardians where I feel that they are not living up to the expectation or the role of being a good parent. But I'm not considering that section of the society. I'm really talking on by large the parents who are really dedicated, who are looking forward to having a very well sound family and raising the next generation. That's the whole idea, that parents this is one point that I want to also highlight for parents who are listening to this podcast, that we are not just raising our child or my child. In a larger vision and perspective, we are raising the next generation, the future generation that will take care and take over what we leave behind once we have left this world. So as a parent, it is also a responsibility to keep that awareness in mind, that are we doing that job? Are we really doing justice by making sure that the next generation is ready and prepared to take over the legacy and do what is required, So, yes, in the small unit sense, every parent's life revolves around their children's safety, well-being. They want to provide everything that they can do for their children. And in the larger perspective, I think a sound, like a financially, physically, emotionally, the generation has to be sound enough so that they can carry forward the legacy, right? So that would be my understanding. But I definitely am always very curious because in our times, in our generation, um, family was important. And even today, I feel that we do carry that bond. No matter, we might not be talking to our siblings that often, we all are busy in our lives, but when we know that one of us needs us, we are there. We have that bond between us. We don't have to express it every day and text every day and tell the world that, hey, I love you and I'm there for you. But in action, my family can depend on me and I can depend on my family when I know that I need them. I think that security somewhere at the back of my mind is like a moral support, moral pillar that whenever I look back, I know my family is standing there. And that gives me enough support to take care of whatever I need to do in my life, because I know there's a, uh, there's a whole family that's backing me up, and I know I can lean back on them whenever I need it. So I want to know how the generation today thinks, because I feel that um, with all the exposure and so much going on, like nonviolence, the society today with so much mental issues, so many things going on that that today's generation is exposed to. Um, what do today's generation think? Do they feel connected? They want to have the connection, or they feel that no, they're better off without it? I want to know your perspective as a younger generation.
I definitely will say, it depends person to person, personality to personality. Um, I think the reason children struggle with having that sense of like familial belonging is because it is increasingly more popular to have that mindset of like, well, if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work, so it doesn't matter. And that's not a necessarily bad mindset to have because obviously, if it doesn't work and you don't want that, relationship or energy in your life, then you have every right to not have it in your life. That makes sense. But when it comes to like the issue is when that same mentality and that framework is put on to relationships in terms of like your family. And I just think there's so many things that are, I honestly think like hearing the sentiment growing up from my friends, it was like there's so many issues in my life. I'd rather just not sit there and try to fight for something that I feel like is already lo a lost cause. Like that was the sentiment I heard the most growing up, where it was like there's like it's not even like specific to my life. It's like you said, so much exposure. Like there's like a million problems going on in this world. I'm not gonna fight for something that feels like it's not worth it. And I think it's very hard to explain to a child why family is worth it, right? Because like growing up, your understanding is a little bit limited. So what you see, what's tangible is what you understand the most. So when you're in a situation where like as a parent, like and I can like understand this and I can sympathize with it, but as a parent I can completely understand um why it would be hard to explain like family and the concept of it and the meaning behind it and the importance of it to a child growing up. But I feel like there has to be a way because when you don't have that, you don't have that understanding growing up, these relationships, and honestly, any type of relationship just seems so much more futile. It's like, oh, it doesn't even matter. It's not worth it. Why should I fight for anything? But if you go down with that mentality and you go deeper down the rabbit hole, then it's like, okay, well, then why am I doing anything? What is anything worth it? Like, it's like that mentality is a very slippery slope. And I think it does start with like the question to be asked is how do parents explain to children the importance of family and the importance of having these relationships, and how do children learn to understand what is worth and what isn't worth fighting for? So I wanted to ask you, how did you end up implementing that with me and Adi, my brother? Um, and also in a dynamic where, because like we obviously feel the same way about Dada too, but Dada didn't live with us. So like I wanted to ask you, like, how was it implementing that framework and perspective in our family when Dada doesn't live with us and it's just the three of us and like just how you went about it.
I guess it all boils down to the communication, even though throughout the podcast, it almost seems like I didn't communicate at all, or I did not communicate in the right way to my children. But I think I did miss out some key points, which was my learning through the process. But the sense that I wanted to make sure that because we had a family dynamic which was not a normal family dynamic because Dada never stayed with us. He was always outside. So then I already very early on I knew that family means, because for me my own family is very important. I mean, no matter whatever goes on with, and you know how I mean, I come from a very disturbed family, right? My childhood is from a family, you know. And so growing up, I always wanted to make sure, like, I knew that no matter however my family is, it's still my family. I value it. So that comes from my own value system, thankfully. So I was very keen and making sure that I communicate to you guys. One is to respect. It is very important to have respect for each other. And even though Dada was not there, I always made sure that you and Adi understand the importance of his presence in our lives. He might not be there emotionally for you because he's physically not there, but that doesn't mean that he's not doing his job. He is doing the most important job of being the provider or the breadwinner of the family. And it is a very important job in today's world. All the luxuries that you're having or all the comforts that you're having, you can only thank him for that. Nobody, I mean, I cannot take that credit. I mean, I took charge of the fort in the other way, but he took charge of the fort in that sense. So I always made sure that you people are aware of his sacrifices, what he's going through as a person to give what he's able to give or provide you and Adi and me for that matter. So I made sure that we all have that understanding. At the same time, loving the children in some sense unconditionally, making sure, of course, I had, as a parent, I had my own moments where I felt that oh my god, like I have to uh I just wanted to, I think there's somebody here, so there's a disturbance. But anyway, so we'll carry forward. So I wanted to make sure that um I lost my thought now. But it's okay, that's fine. I will get back to it. So yes, unconditional love, you know. So I know that during the podcast you have said many times that I have probably been very strict with you, and so those were my insecurities. But at the same time, I still made sure that no matter whatever differences we were having, when it came to expressing my love in whatever capacity I could, I, in my thought, was very unconditional in that sense that I'm still loving you guys. I'm really coming from the space where I want you to see my genuineness. And I think maybe when you get a chance to speak about it, I would definitely want to know that throughout growing up, did you ever feel that okay, there is no point talking to her, or maybe she might not understand. But did you ever doubt that she doesn't love me?
Mhm.
Did you ever doubt that?
I never doubted whether you loved me or not. That's for sure. But there were times where I was like, it's not worth it. It really isn't. Like, this is a lost cause. It's not going to get any better. Like, that is a sentiment I shared as well. And I think it's because the immigrant or the Indian style of raising children has a tendency to make a child feel very alienated, like unconsciously, just very alienated from the rest of the family or from the parent or from, whatever it is. And that's honestly how I felt. I felt very alienated. I felt isolated. I felt like no one understood me. No one understood what I was going through. And and I think the problem was exasperated even more because obviously we're you know, you guys are coming from India and then raising children over here. The culture is different. The way other people are raising their children here are completely different. And like I've talked about this before, like seeing how other parents treated their children, seeing how my parents treated me is two very, very different things. And I do think that this is a very common theme that I don't think any child thinks their parent doesn't love them unless, we are talking about the section of the population that truly, does not treat their children right. But for a normal, average, family, I do think children know that their parents love them. But it's the fact that they don't know who they are. Like, loving your child is not enough. Knowing who your child is, knowing who they are as people, their experiences, their thoughts, their opinions, making sure they're included in the fold, even if they have a differing opinion or a differing perspective, making sure that those things are open and allowed to be expressed in the household is what makes a child feel like they belong. But the moment you shut those things down and are like, oh, well, that's not how we do things, or that's not how we think about things, or whatever it is, that's when your child is going to start to feel very alienated and is like, well, I don't want to say anything then. Clearly, I'm the only one that feels like this way. I'm just different than the rest of them. Like that you put that wall, like you're literally placing brick by brick that wall between you and your child. So even though I can sit there and still be like, no, my mom loves me, but does she know me? Does she care for who I like for not even who, but like what I am as a person, right? Those details, those things also matter. Just being able to show that your child that you love them is not enough. It really isn't.
So, so then what? So if oh, I understand, of course, loving is a different way of expressing. But then tell me, what made you feel that you want the family or you want the relationship, or growing up, did you have the sense that no matter what, this is still my family?
Mm.
What was it that made you have that thought process then?
So I think what made me had that have that thought process was, and maybe this is just my way of thinking, but the idea of family. See, this is the dichotomy within Indian culture. On one hand, Indian culture has a tendency to wedge people away and make like, burn bridges and whatever, whatever. And on the other hand, Indian culture has the unique way of bringing everybody together because family is such an important thing in Indian culture. Like, come hell or high water, no matter what happens, you still have to stick it through with your family. It does not matter if you're fighting every day, you're arguing every day, you don't like them, you don't agree with them. That's still like your blood. That's still your family. So I'm not going to completely lie. That was definitely part of it. Another part of it, and this is something that I experienced with both you and Detta, was seeing that you guys kept trying. I didn't give up because I saw that you guys didn't give up. And that is honestly what kept me going too. Because if it's just me trying, then after the first three tries, I'm out. I'm calling it quits. I did my big one and I'm done, right? But because I saw you guys in your respective ways continue, no matter how many times our relationship fell, you continue to try to build it back up. That made me feel like, okay, well, if she can give in, she can sit here and still keep working, then the least I can do is still keep working. And it's because she is still family. She is still my mom. He is still my dad. He is still my brother. So I honestly think like when it comes to any parents and children seeing this, like actually specifically for the parents, I will say that you are probably going to have to give in a couple more times more than your child will. But if you're able to push past that parental pride and ego of like, well, they should just listen to me, whatever it is, you are going to see more results through action. just saying something is not always going to work. Obviously, you have to say what you have to say, but you have to follow through with what you have to say too. The more action you show that you're trying, the more susceptible your child is going to be to the idea of like, okay, if they're trying, then maybe I should try too. But then also in that same breath, I will say that don't keep trying the same thing over and over again, right? Clearly, the way you are trying to make things work isn't working out. So, yes, you can keep trying over and over again, but you're still going to push your child away because you're not bringing them into the fold and trying to figure out how you can make things better together. You're just doing, 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 not even looking at the other perspective or the other side. So, yes, action matters, but collective action. There should be a sense of togetherness. Like you're figuring this out together. It's not just me figuring it out, it's not just you figuring it out. And I think that's something that maybe you did unconsciously or maybe you knew what you were doing, but that's something I will say
I
that
will take the credit that I did know what I'm doing. No, but I guess the shift that I brought in myself was that I did not look at the world, because earlier I was looking at you as from the parent side, then then I learned that no, it's not going to work this way, because the way I am exposing you is not the way you are looking at me. When I had that big moment, that big discussion with in the therapy session,
Mhm.
then I started realizing that I guess the biggest shift that needs to happen is that I need to sit in your chair and then look at the world from your eyes, and then try to understand your world, not the world that I think I'm giving to you, but I need to come down to the place, not down in that sense, but to come to your side and then look at the world and then see what that world looks like. What in your eyes you see the parent, not that the parent I'm trying to show you or be. I wanted to understand the parent that you are experiencing or you are perceiving.
Mhm.
That's when the shift started happening for me, because now I was like, oh, it doesn't matter whatever I'm saying. If you are not able to comprehend what I'm saying, then I need to change my ways.
Mhm.
So I had to keep in my head, I was keeping myself in both sides. Once when, so every time we would have an episode where we're not agreeing, I would go back and then reflect that, okay, if I'm Tuk right now, or I'm Diksha right now, and if I am not able to understand that, what part is she not getting what I'm trying to say? So I would sit back and think from your perspective. And then I would again go back. It's like a chess game which I'm playing from both sides. Like I play my play move on this side, then I go on the other side, and then oh, that was the move played. Let me move, let me cut my own move. So that's where I brought the major change in me, was to see the world through your lens.
Mhm.
And that lens was very different than the lens that I was looking at the world from, and trying to teach you or trying to give you those things. But I guess the another key factor was that I always emphasized on the fact that even though I might have shut you down many times, but in my own ways, I always still gave you that opportunity that you have an opinion and you can come and talk.
I will say that is what you thought you might have been doing.
Exactly.
Uh, I, you got the first half right. I always knew I was allowed to have an opinion. That is something you never shied away from. It wasn't even that you wanted me to form my own educated opinions. You wanted me to have my own thought processes. But when it came to, and I won't lie, there were a lot of things that I could still come and talk about, but it devolved into an argument very quickly. And I think this might just because both of our personalities are like this, where we just felt this incessant need to prove the other one wrong. But
You are an Aries, I'm an Aries. We have to butt our heads.
we're a little too
Two
stubborn.
strong, opinionated women, they cannot stay in the same household then.
No, literally. But yeah, that was and going back to your earlier point about putting yourself in the child's perspective, seeing their worldview. It like it goes back to this overarching message. It's like you can sit here and think that you're creating this environment for your child, but you have no idea how they're going to see the world, right? It's like the same thing when you're talking to people about like letting go of control and stuff. You can sit here and like do a million different things, but at the end of the day, how the other person is going to perceive it is up to their own accord. There's nothing you can do about that. And I think that's sometimes where parents miss the mark, where they're treating their child like a child, which makes sense. But you have to remember that you're dealing with another human being. You're not dealing with just your child. That in it of itself another human being. Um, and it's a conversation I had with Dada. I mean, maybe Dada might have done this unconsciously, but he was also really good at, letting or trying to understand where I was coming from. And there's more to me than just being Tuk your daughter or like, Diksha your daughter. There's a lot more going on. And I think parents forget that there's a whole world that you have no clue about. And it would be naive to keep thinking that you know everything when you don't.
I agree. This last statement that parents have this understanding that they know everything because they are the parent and they have the experience, but they don't know. And there is a large portion of today's children's world that they don't know, and that education to parents has to happen. They need to educate themselves. I keep emphasizing and stressing on this because that's the experience I went through with you, that I had to unlearn a lot of things that I thought I know and I have learned, and then I had to relearn a lot of things.
Mhm.
But I think that was the beauty of the relationship, the whole journey with you, that the unlearning and the learning process, because it did help me in many ways, of course, to better the relationship with you, but also as a person in today's generation, it really helped me bring my own peace of mind. As an individual, as a parent, I also was going through a lot of emotional turmoil because my daughter is going through so much problems, and that didn't bring me any peace. But I never had an opportunity. So for me to able to take that journey with you, somewhere that understanding, that awareness brought peace to me too. And somewhere I was able to deal with you much better. I was able to strike that balance with you. Of course, I miss that balance even now, I guess, but I'm trying. I'm trying my best. But the point that you made, that the Indian culture, like how they have this ability to shut you down, but at the same time still instill that value. I guess that also comes from the fact that, at least my household I can talk about, that I always did not seclude ourselves like we are just a four people unit. We
Mhm.
just do everything together. And no, I always made sure that you are getting exposed to the culture of being as together, uh, through friends, through get togethers. We have these reunions every year that we have. I think that also instilled the bond of having a larger family, even though we are all very close friends for last 20, 21 years. And but that exposure, I think, did help you guys to understand that we are not just this small four people unit. There is a larger vision, larger perspective. Do you think that kind of exposure also helped you, or did you also feel that, me being me, how my spiritual journey, I've been very open about it in the family. And I always, time to time, kept introducing, even though you might understand or not understand, but I kept speaking a lot of my spiritual awareness in bite sizes. And I don't know if that ever made any sense, or did that add to your sense of having that belonging to have a family and be together. Do you think that ever made any sense to you or no?
I do think raising us in a community did help. Um, but I do think a lot of it was the spirituality aspect of it. I think the because from a very young age it was always like, our souls are connected. We're all meant to be in this family together for one purpose or another. And when you grow up with that way of thinking in terms of familial relationships, it's a lot easier to stomach that no matter what happens, us four are meant to be a family, or us four are meant to experience these things together. Um, because that's like just a belief system that is ingrained in you with all good intents and purposes from a very young age. So like it just becomes second nature to be like, yeah, no matter what, like I have to stick it out of like with these people, regardless of if I want to or not. So it is what it is. But I do think spirituality definitely had a huge factor into why me, and honestly, I could speak for Adi too, and he's the least spiritual out of all of us. Why the two of us, no matter what happened, we're very much, and are still are very much family oriented.
So then it's the spirituality that I did right.
You got the spirituality right. Certain times you messed that one up a little bit too, but when it mattered, you did your big one.
No, I think definitely my spiritual experiences and how I have been very much open about it. Of course, it had its drawbacks, but at the same time, I had this very strong faith. And that also comes from the understanding and awareness of us as a being, why we are here, what is the purpose of life, and so I know that it was a very big thing for you guys to experience through me, and sometimes it had its own drawbacks. But the faith that I had was that in the larger perspective, you will get it eventually. You will get it, because I was very consistent and persistent about it. See, sometimes it's very important that parents also understand that if they are trying to really believe in something and they feel that that's the right thing to do, then they should be consistent and persistent about it. But of course, keeping in mind that the other person is also beginning to somewhere understand. It cannot be that they keep beating the child up and thinking, no, 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 my beating is going to do the best to them. I'm not talking in that sense, but also making sure that with patience, lot of patience, really lot of patience, and children can test your patience. Oh my God. I mean,
I don't know what you're talking about. I was an angel. Just saying.
I You know what? Growing up, you were an angel. I cannot deny that. But once your teenage years hit, you sucked the life out of me, I guess. Literally, I was like, oh God, take my blood, just take my blood if that's what you want. And Adi, on the other hand, was someone who really taught me patience in life as a kid. But then as he hit his teenage years, oh my God, he's such a blessing. I mean, I cannot even thank enough the universe for bringing him in my life at this juncture for the person that he is. Of course, Dada, of course, is always there, my strongest pillar. I've always said that wherever I am in my life today, spiritually or in totality, I think a lot of it I would give the credit to him, because he always gave me that space to let me be. So, um, yeah, I mean, that is a good point to bring the spiritual aspect into our relationship, because I think in our household, that somewhere did play a very, very important role. And the credit goes to me for that. And I think I do feel that receptivity, you are the even though you don't believe, how every time you people would have some issue, and I would start saying something, and you're like, oh, there goes your life lesson, oh, there goes your life lesson, we don't need your life lesson. And I'm like, one day you're going to thank me for all these life lessons that I keep talking and keep talking. And I guess I do feel that that exposure was something that really had a turbulent time, but eventually it did try settle all of us down.
Yeah.
And that has brought us as a family unit where we are individuals in our own right. We understand and respect each other's space, but at the same time we are connected with a very strong thread.
Mhm.
And I guess that is what I feel that I managed to do. Did I manage to do?
You're just glazing yourself.
No, but I want everyone to understand that there is hope. Hope is very important. Hope is very, very important. You must have hope. You must have the belief that if you have hope, that it will work out. And then you put everything into action. And then, if you, as you said, brick by brick, you put the right action in place, it will work out. There is no reason for it to not work out. It will. And I guess parents and children in today's age, when everybody is so disconnected from each other, most of the times we fail to value the other person in our lives, and we have to express that how important they are, no matter however they are, whatever they are, wherever they are, it doesn't matter. But they are important, they are valuable. I guess that message always needs to be given in some way or the other. Uh, that message that touches someone's heart and soul will always be above the differences that come in the relationship, which is normal, which is very normal. No relationship can be just a bed of roses, it has to have its own ups and downs. That's the whole part of it being a journey. It's a journey, and that journey has to go sometimes up, sometimes down. That can also be with acceptance that it's okay to have those turbulences, but in the end we should all be together. That's very important.
I agree. I do think that would be a good place to stop for today. I think next week we can definitely delve more into spirituality and what it did for us as individuals, us, between me and you, us as an entire family. Um, but yeah, as always, please like, comment, share, subscribe. Let us know if there's any topics that you guys want us to talk about specifically. We hope you enjoyed today's podcast, and we hope to see you guys next week.
Yeah, looking forward to meeting all you off again next week, and thank you so much for watching us, and I hope it helps someone or the other. Thank you.